Hello and welcome back to Harlan's in Danger. I am your host, Tom, and today I'm joined as always with my good friend and co-host, Mitch.
Hello, I am also here, and today we are doing another Mythos Packized episode for the Scarlet Keys. So this is status report Zeta, and I'm ready to jump in. Let's do this.
Alright, let's just go straight on to the Guardian cards. Alright, so for Guardian cards we have two cards in this pack. We have the 2-cost asset Bestow Resolve. It's a level 2 ritual that uses some charges and lets you make your skill icons into wild icons, basically. And then we also have the level 2 Prepared for the Worst, which is just 0 cost now, and I think you can play it as well instead of just drawing it. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as far as Bestow Resolve, I have a question.
Yeah.
Let's say you wanted to commit a card that you ordinarily couldn't commit. Let's say you're putting Guts into a fight test, because it would have wild icons, it would count. Would you be able to do that?
Yeah. That's kind of like the appeal
Okay.
of it. Yeah, is that like you can take your basically your neutral skills and make them anything. You can take your vicious blows and commit them to shriveling. You can take.
Gotcha.
I guess daring already has wild icons, but something else that's guardian and has strict. You can take.
Well, I was about to say...
Intrepid and make it into a fist test.
You can make Intrepid actually work.
Yes.
That's a great use of this card.
This is
Intrepid now works.
I actually think the only deck I took this in was the deck that tried to make Intrepid work. I don't think I ever used this on Intrepid. But yeah.
But the thinking is there.
The thinking's there, yeah.
So the curious thing about this card is I was really positive when it came out. I think a lot of people were very positive when Bestow Resolve came out. And then I realized that basically every Guardian skill that I put in my deck is wild icons already, except for Vicious Blow, which I wouldn't use for anything other than an attack anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I still feel like it's good and it has a place, but I feel like I'm going to end up using that card most often with characters who have off-class Guardian, or they're doing some kind of... Like, I don't know, I would need a deck built around using lots of skills and wanting their effects to trigger on other things.
Yeah, I get that. I think I had a pretty fun time when I did play with it. It's definitely like you feel the play action on it. Like it doesn't feel great to draw this in the middle of the game and be like, well, I really would rather play another weapon, or I'd really rather play I don't know, like an ally or something, or some soak, and then I just have this sitting in my hand, and it's very much like an auxiliary tool, right? And like you said, like a lot of Guardian skills that you typically take already have wild icons, like daring, or what's the other one?
Right,
The
take the
bold one.
initiative.
Take the initiative, yeah. Those are kind of like the ones that, yeah, Guardian's kind of known for. But I think like this actually has more utility when you're running like the neutral skills, and you just want to change those into cantrips, like cards that you can just draw a card off of, but for any test. Any one of them can be Guts. Any one of them can be manual dexterity, depending on what you need. So they're all unexpected courages,
right,
that also draw you a card. That's kind of like the really nifty part of it. Or you're taking things like the Inspiring Presence that has 3 different icons, and suddenly it's a 3 wild icon card.
Yeah. Well, and I think it benefits an investigator who... Someone like maybe Diana, where she kind of wants to lean into all of her stats. Because if you have a low stat value in something, then getting 2 icons out of your neutral skills isn't really going to help you. But if you are planning to use most of your stats anyways, then I think there's definitely more credence to use this card for that situation, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I had fun with it. I like it. I think it's a fun card. I don't know if it's a card.
I like the design.
Yeah. It's like a card that I don't know if I'd take often, but when I would take it, I'd have fun. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Prepare for the Worst 2 is great. It fixes my only problem with Prepared for the Worst 0, which is that it makes all of your weapons cost 1 more, and sometimes doesn't even draw you a weapon.
Yeah. Now, this doesn't search any deeper, does it?
No, it doesn't. But like nine's kind of enough. I'm currently playing this in a Tommy Muldoon deck through Hemlock Vale that has exactly 3 guns in it, and if I don't find a gun in my opening hand, this is on stick to the plan, and I probably will find a gun with it. So it feels like
Yeah.
pretty good. Yeah.
hmm Yeah, and then you get to play it, which is nice too. So
Hmm.
it gives you the two benefits I guess you absolutely have to have. It saves you not only the resource to play it, but you can play the card right
Yeah,
away.
it
So
saves you the
if it
action.
was, yeah, supposing you were to pull up like a lightning gun or something like that, where it costs, I think that costs 5, you
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to play that right away because it saps your resource. So the fact that it gives you the discount means you should be able to play whatever it is.
Yeah.
Then you can strategically plan for that to save yourself the action. So yeah, action compression is good,
Yeah.
especially in Guardian where they desperately need it. So yeah, I think this is a good upgrade for sure.
Yeah. I think it's a really nice card. I really am just
Hmm
quite pleased with this upgrade. I think it fixes all my. I don't think it needs to do any more than what it's doing, and I don't think I'd
Same.
play it if it did anything less. So it seems like it's kind of perfect. So
Yeah, agreed. Nice simple upgrade. I like it.
and you can commit it if you draw it later to your bestow resolve tests, and it's 3 wild icons. So
That's true. Yeah, cards that are events or something that has just a lot of icons on it and
hmm
they're all random, those are more popular than having matching ones. So
yeah,
yeah, I guess that's a good use of bestow resolve as well. I hadn't thought about that.
yeah. All
Hmm.
right, you ready for this? What do we do? Seeker cards next. What's our order? Seeker, I
Yeah.
think, is next.
Yeah.
All right. For the Seeker cards, we got Lab Coat and Press Pass. Two items, level 1 and 2, respectively. Uh, the Lab Coat lets you, when you would fail a test on a Seeker card by 1 or less, exhaust it and succeed by 0 instead. It takes up the body slot and soaks for 1 and 1. And the Press Pass is after you spend or move clues or place one or more clues on your location, you can exhaust it and take an additional action this turn.
Or your next turn if it's not currently your turn.
I didn't read in the parentheticals. I'm sorry. I'm doing a bad job
Well,
summing these cards
well,
up.
the reason why that's funny that I want to highlight it is that would never be put on a Guardian card.
That's
I
true.
mean, I don't even know if they would put that on a rogue card. They would be like, "No, you don't deserve. No, you had to get your extra turn now. It doesn't matter if it's not convenient for you." But since it's a secret card, like, "Oh, well, that's not fair. You're supposed to get your action through this card, so you just
I'm,
take an
I'm
extra
gonna.
extra
So,
turn's fine."
okay, actually, I am usually all for punching Seekers for getting just uh, daddy's favorite treatments, I guess. But I
Yeah.
think for in this instance, this is actually costed appropriately. It's a 4 cost, it takes up the necklace slot, and you do have to spend 2 experience for it. Um, and the reason I'm
Mhm.
going to defend this is Amina, because this is a charm and she can take it and get extra actions, and that's fun in Mystic.
Can she drop clues on her location though?
There's ways you can drop clues in Amina, and it's also so the reason that it's or your next turn is if you're spending clues to advance the act at like the end of the round or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah,
Oh yeah, spending clues like that. That makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's
no, I don't have any issue with the card. I just want to highlight that specific line of text is this nice assurance to make sure the card functions and performs like it should.
yeah,
And that's a kind of sensitivity that most of the other classes don't have the luxury of.
yeah,
So just pointing it out. I'm sure we'll come across another card in Guardian or wherever where you'll be stumped going, why didn't it just have this little bit of text? Or why did it have to have that word there? Because now that it does, it's like virtually unplayable. There's way too many instances of that. So, I mean, Press Pass is cool. I think it's a nifty little card. I think it's a fair way to give Seekers their actions as
yeah.
opposed to a lot of their other tech. But yeah, it's just interesting to see the thought process behind some of them.
Hear me out. Upgraded Intrepid that says just gets a parenthetical that says or your next turn if this is no longer your turn, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
instead, so like if you
Yep.
like are testing Frozen in Fear at the end of your turn, you commit Intrepid and you get it next turn.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Like Intrepid needs that line of text so that it functions. I mean, Intrepid would also, I think, really just needs to be a wild icon and it needs to give you the willpower boost. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't.
yeah,
But, assuming that they wanted to keep the rest of it restrictive as it is, then there at least needs to be that buffer text so that it can still do a thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is kind of a design philosophy of, how much do you want every card to be in equal measured balance with one another? And, you know, generally you want the balance because then it makes for dynamic deck building and deck construction and different choices the player makes. But at the same time, it can lead for humorous or funny outcomes or, just the random spontaneity of it all. And this is one of those instances where, I mean, this is like an instance where it's not that the secret card is broken. That's usually the narrative, but this is an instance where look how it like cradles the
Yeah.
seeker. How nice.
It's interesting because my initial reaction to you bringing that up was like, actually, they did a pretty good job of just not making the secret cards overpowered in this cycle specifically.
They did.
And like it
They've been
seems
getting
like
much
they've been
better
getting a
about
lot
it,
better.
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, now it's just Survivor. Anyway, Lab Coat. Speaking of a card that
Okay.
I
Looks
don't
like a
think
survivor thing, yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know if this is. I don't know if this card's good at all. I played it in a Kate Winthrop deck when it first came out because I was like, Kate has a lab coat, and that was like the first time I was excited to play a Seeker in a very long time when
Yeah.
Hemlock Bill was coming out. And this card doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, I mean, so you got to be taking lots of tests on seeker cards.
On Seeker cards, yeah.
And I assume what this card is trying to do is that it's trying to make it so that you don't have to commit cards to tests you're doing on your seeker cards.
Yeah.
So that way you can just kind of test at base value and then pass with your 5 or 6 intellect. And then it just covers like, the 1 or 2 tokens that you might ordinarily fail on. On principle, I really like the theme and design of the card. I think that's fine. I mean, it's a little bit of a survivor thing, but I think because
Yeah.
it's framed around seeker cards, the lab coat theatrically makes sense. It's you
Yeah.
doing your sciencey stuff, so you would obviously know how to do that better. But I kind of just like, I don't know. Why doesn't it?
Why isn't it level 0? I guess is my thing. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I like
seems
'cause-
kind of like expensive.
yeah.
I guess you get the 1/1 soak.
I mean, like, but okay. I think like the thing is, I did pay to take this card in a Kate Winthrop deck, and then I didn't really ever fail by one because
Right.
I was a seeker and could just succeed instead.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's in this weird place where like it makes sense thematically in Seeker, but like mechanically, Seekers are. If you're the only time you really fail by one in Seeker is when you're doing just a basic investigate, which isn't on a card. Like there was some usage with chemistry set, but often I found like with chemistry set that's a new card in Hemlock Vale that we haven't talked about at all. But basically, it's you trying to succeed or fail by exact numbers, and there's a couple other cards like that as well. But with that, I found I was often trying to just hit the highs and would end up like succeeding by 3 or I don't know. 4,
Right, and
or,
this didn't help you average out.
It didn't help
was
me
just
average out.
preventing
Yeah.
the loss, which was never going to happen anyways because you were putting in so much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I was trying to hit these bigger numbers because the reward got better the more I succeeded by, which is maybe a conversation for something else. And so I just didn't end up using the lab coat and ended up just being 1/1 soak, which, is a bit expensive to just be 1/1 soak.
Do you feel that it is too much if it's too much like a mystic card if they made it so that you would just it doesn't change your stat value in any way, it just makes it so that the symbol tokens lose their effect while you're using seeker cards? So you can't get like a damage ping or a horror ping or something like that, or if you fail, then this happens when you grab
So
a
just
cultist
changing
token. It would just
changing their effects, not their modifiers?
it would just cancel out their whatever their effects are while you're using going through a secret card. So if you're using chemistry set or forbidden tome or what's that card, the fingerprint kit, if you use something like that and you have the lab coat down and then a symbol token is drawn, you exhaust the lab coat to cancel the effects, not the modifier, not the negative modifier, just the negative consequence of what that symbol would ask you to do.
I feel like that's a different card kind of entirely than what we have here. Is that's I think my
Well,
only
this is a
thing.
card that does nothing, so I'm suggesting a new card that
I
would be
sure sure.
vaguely an approximation.
I guess that's but I mean like I guess something that could I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of existing in this weird space right now between Seeker, Survivor, and Mystic. It's kind of got this weird triangle where it just kind of lives a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit. It's I think a little less Mystic than Seeker and Survivor, but um,
hmm Right now, I'm just saying, what if it leaned more Mystic? Maybe that was the solution as opposed to more Survivor.
I don't know. I don't know. This is a weird one.
Here's
It's.
what I'll say.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, you
I
do
was
it.
gonna say here's the problem with this card. It's not that it does nothing. It does do something. It's just that the instance in which it occurs will be very, very rare. It will happen in the scenario where you reach a four shroud location
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, oh no, I really need to pass this and I gotta pass in a big way. You throw in your deduction, but you lost your magnifying glass to
You wouldn't
a
want, but so you wouldn't want to use magnifying glass in a deck with this anyways, because most of the cards that you, secret cards that you have tests on them, either take up your hand slot
right.
or I guess now your necklace slot.
Okay, so fingerprint kit.
But fingerprint kit, yeah,
So you get
sure.
your +1 bonus from fingerprint kit. You so then let's say you're running at like I don't know, you've got 7. That's your skill value, maybe with other like Dr. Milan or something. You throw in a deduction, you get to 8, and so at that point you can pass the -4. So okay, let's say like maybe Dr. Milan he got eaten by a
Sure.
crypt shell or something like that. So now you're at a 7. You can't take the -4. You pull the -4, then you tap this and go, haha. Now I'm getting the 3 clues out of this, 2 from fingerprint kit and
Mm-hmm.
my deduction, and this was a foolproof way to make sure that that happened. That probably will happen as a situation that's very feasible, but also like for 1 XP and or 2 XP, I guess if you're getting 2 copies, and then 2 resources and the action to play all this, most shroud values are going to be less than that, or
So
you can overcommit, or you'll just find another way to
here's
solve it. Like this needs to trigger enough times for it to matter,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And here's my thing: if Dr. Milan Christopher got eaten, right? Why didn't you just put it on
Uh-huh.
the lab coat and keep the +1 bonus?
Yeah, good. Another good point, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe you don't need money. That's why.
maybe you don't need money. Yeah,
But you're right, like because Milan gave you the skill bonus passively, and this
Yeah.
is saying like, well, no. So I don't know.
Yeah, like honestly,
Yeah,
I feel like it's
it's
weirdly
weird.
worse because it soaks a damage in a horror. Like, because there's cards that'll do damage in horror to cards that you want, and then you just put this out, and it's like, well, all right. Like, if this
Yeah.
was cheaper and didn't soak, I think I'd be more inclined to play it because then it is like it feels like an emergency button instead of like a, well,
Mhm.
I guess I'm taking a damage in horror and I don't really want to do that, so I guess I paid an experience and an extra resource for some fine clothes today.
Well, that's why my suggestion goes back to the sort of mystic idea of like canceling the negative effects of symbol tokens. Because even if you pass, there's a lot of symbol tokens that will still hit you for stuff when that
Mhm.
happens. And so to me, that would give the card a niche to fill because whether you have Milan or Backblast or Fingerprint Kit or Deduction or whatever it is you're playing, it doesn't. It's like that would be a very unique effect that could help buffer some of this. But and I say this with trepidation, the idea that oh well that's too powerful for seekers because now they can cancel symbol tokens
Yeah,
just like
that's
mystics
the part
can.
I don't like.
But here's the thing with that is mystics are seekers have already done that. They have way too many high damage cards that are very easy for them to pull off. Like those are the cards I
But
have way more of a
yeah,
problem
I
with
agree. But
because that's
the
you
design
crossing
seems to be
roles.
of this. The design of Seeker enemy management seems to be evolving away from that. I think I
Uh-huh.
would be more concerned if we started moving into Mystic territory with token manipulation. I think like I like this sort of manipulation a little bit more. I just like I like this effect. I think this effect is good. I just think it's overcosted
Yeah.
for what it is, and I think the damage and horror on there is a little bit confusing.
Because it does a bunch of middling effects that
Yeah.
just add up to not really mattering at all.
Yeah, and I feel like if instead of going more like I'm going to cover several different bases, it narrowed in on that, like when you would fail a skill test on a seeker card by 1 or less, exhaust this and and succeed by 0 instead. I think I like that effect. I just want it to be cheaper
Mhm.
in some way. Like it's just too much in too many ways. It feels just overcosted, and I would rather it just like I would rather it's just like a piece of clothing that sits in my body slot and doesn't do anything until like I really need it to.
Well, the funny thing about it is it gives you a 1/1 soak.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to compare with Survivor, like, the teddy bear or the leather jacket or the leather coat, that's a 0 cost and you get 2 soak.
Yeah.
So this you got to spend an XP and 2 resources, but that is in line with how it should be costed for a Seeker, because we can look at Guardian and see True Grit and something worth fighting for, and it's 3 resources for 3 soak. So
Yeah.
for 1 more soak, you can spend a whopping 3 resources, which is that's just so expensive. It's astronomical. So like this one feels like it leans more Guardian in that it's basically a bad card, and it just feels worse because it's Seeker. We're not used to that, so it's like, why is this card so bad?
That's what it is. I think that's exactly what it is. This is a fine card. It's the wrong color for a fine card to be. Yeah. There we go. We found it there. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our
let's do the next one.
To our Mystic cards. Yeah.
Mystic.
All right.
Okay.
So we have El Rubash in Moonlight Ritual 2. El Rubash is a 3-cost ally witch asset who you get +1 skill value when resolving a skill test on the attached asset. How do you attach an asset, you ask? Well, okay, I didn't get there yet. Actually, 1 Doom on attached asset does not count towards the agenda's Doom threshold. Now, how do you attach an asset, you ask? As a lightning bolt, you can exhaust her and choose an asset in your play area with 1 or more Doom on it, and attach it to El Rubash or switch it with the attached asset. Limit 2 assets. So basically, she holds your Doom for you, and makes it not scary, and then actually helps you use things with Doom on them.
Yeah.
And I think she's unnecessary. Doom's not that scary. I'll die on this hill.
I don't play a lot of Doom decks, so I think she's interesting. I'm definitely interested to try her, and the idea of juggling lots of Doom is appealing if I have a card like this who can kind of, hold back the threshold and then can give me a little skill bonus with it. I think all that's interesting. I don't know. I think Doom decks, my problem with Doom decks is it's not, you don't get to do it enough for it to feel satisfying. Like, in times I've done it, it's been like, well, here's a Doom or 2, and then, can't do any more. Or I gotta get my Moonlight Ritual and clear it off, and then I can do 1 or 2 more. And so it just feels like it's a lot of effort to get like very little out of it, as opposed to, let's say, Big Hand deck. If you play Big Hand, yeah, there's some cards you're not going to want to play, but for the most part, you just get a whole bunch of cards, and so you can play whatever you want. Whereas like Doom decks feel kind of restrictive, and I feel like she softens that blow a little bit. I mean, having not played with her before, that's what it seems to be her appeal is. So I actually like her, and you can attach 2 assets to her, which is pretty cool.
I guess.
And that's on each attached asset. So I don't know. I feel like she's pretty strong. She does stuff. She's not useless.
So there's a few assets that can get Doom on them that you have tests on them. I guess we'll start with that. So the assets that can get Doom on them that can attach to her are Ceremonial Sickle, Dowsing Rod, the Onyx Pentacle, the Chalice one that's actually pretty good, and the 2 books, Divermus Mysterious and Abyssal Tome. Those are the only ones that'll actually... Well, actually, I don't even think Divermus Mysterious has a test on it. It just helps you get events back. Anyway, so, like, those aren't... The thing with those is they're already very situational of when you want to put Doom on them. And if you need to wait to get El Rubash in play to do that, instead of actually freeing up and making you more flexible with Doom, it actually makes Doom more restrictive. That's, I think, the part that I'm not excited about. Because I play a lot with Doom. And the one of the most fun things about it is finding out when you can kind of eke out a little bit of Doom, make your teammates a little bit nervous because it's not like Doom's not about to advance, and then still get away with it, right? Like, that's actually really satisfying to me. And what she does is she makes... She doesn't, like, give you opportunities to get away with it so much in a way that like other cards like from this cycle like this Moonlight Ritual 2 and Sin Eater do.
Mm-hmm.
I think instead she's like, hey, pay 3 resources for me when you find me. And maybe I also just don't play a lot with allies, I guess. I'm not a big ally friend. Uh,
Hmm.
but, like, you have to find her, and then until you find her, she's going to kind of reinforce this idea that you don't want to put Doom on things. I don't know. I feel like she makes it a little
What
more
about
inflexible.
what about the possibility that now that she's here, we will see more Doom cards
I like
because
that.
now they have more freedoms to create. Because before it's like every Doom card has to be designed around like, whoa, but there's not a lot of ways to deal with it. And so I feel like she actually becomes more important as more Doom cards get developed and added to the pool.
So, sure, there's not a lot of ways to deal with Doom, but you can also just discard them. And I feel like that's one that always people always forget. Like you can, if you play the Doom hand slot items, right, like the Ceremonial Sickle, you can just play another
Mhm.
Ceremonial Sickle over your really doomy one, and it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah, but that's so expensive.
It's
Uh,
not that bad. It like I don't know. Mystics have ways to get resources now because Voice of Ra is kind of crazy, and yeah, honestly, it's not that bad. Like the and Doom actually gives you a ton of tempo. This is like the cool thing about Doom is it's costed because it says, hey, your entire team could lose an entire turn basically. So here's a ton of tempo to make up for that and make it tempting. If it wasn't tempting, you wouldn't take it. Um,
okay.
yeah, so you can get resources. You can do anything with Doom.
Okay, so you don't like this card very much. I see it as like a good step towards more opportunity. What would this card need to be to make you have a positive impression of it?
What does this card
Like
need to be to
what's
have
the
a
one thing of one attribute on her card that is just like, I don't like that. That's what makes it not work for me.
I guess like the danger. I guess it's just that she's kind of an ally. Like if this was a thing that didn't, like, I just hate health and sanity values. Is what I'm learning as we do these recordings. If she couldn't just randomly die and put your entire teammate in a crazy pickle because suddenly there's doom on two more doom than there was because she just took a damage or a horror, a stray damage or a horror, so you wouldn't die. Then like I think I'd feel better about this. But like I would
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on a second. If she dies and she has attached assets to her, those attached assets don't get discarded?
Ooh, I never know
Wouldn't
how
they
this
just die
works.
with her?
Maybe they would just die with her. Hmm. Yeah, I guess you're right. They would just die with her. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm less worried about this now. Um,
Because in that case, you can forbidden knowledge to take her out on purpose just to make sure, like as a emergency to get rid of your doom if you can't
yeah,
get, you know.
I'm much happier with that as an option because I've played like the David Renfield with Forbidden Knowledge thing, and that feels great because you just get tons of money
Yeah.
and you don't have to worry about the Doom, and everyone looks at you like you're a crazy person when you put your 4th Doom on
Hmm.
David Renfield, and you're just like, no, 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 don't. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I have this. He can die at any time. Uh,
Yeah,
and I
my
give
my
you more
thinking
money.
is I would want to get a charisma and attach David Renfield to her. So that way I could get a resource every turn. So I spend 2 resources for David, 3 for her, and then every round I get 1 resource back for free.
This is you can get more money just by playing Forbidden Knowledge. But fine, whatever. Just do the
Or Voice of Ra,
or
or
just
Emergency
Voice of Ra.
Cache.
Yeah, yeah. Like emergency cash is. I guess it's consistent economy, I suppose. But and I guess you get the willpower boost from David. But that's David being good. That's not. And David costs less. I don't know. I don't know. David's a better Doom ally than her. I'm just not. I'm not super stoked on her still, but now that you've mentioned that, like, okay, wait, the assets that are attached to her actually would get discarded, I'm a little bit more
Yeah.
like. That weirdly makes me more excited for her because I don't have to worry about her just randomly taking a ping of damage, so I don't, or like drawing one of those cards that's like, hey, this damages your allies, and then having to
Yeah.
deal with Doom that I wasn't expecting. Because like that's the thing I like about Moonlight Ritual, and I really like about Sin Eater, which we'll talk about when we get to it, is that it's consistent and like you feel safe when you have it in your hand. Like there are things that have you
Yeah.
discard a card from your hand, but you like the random discards. Just make sure you don't lose your Moonlight Ritual if that's coming, and it's fast. So
Right.
even if you draw a thing that says like, hey, you have to discard a card random from your hand, just fast play your Moonlight Ritual. This is sorry,
Yeah.
I'm talking about this
That's
other
fine.
card now that I like so much more.
Well, so yeah, I mean, I like Moonlight Ritual too, Moonlight Ritual as well. But the problem, so my, so I don't actually have an issue with Moonlight Ritual 2. This is a card that I would have designed like ages ago, because it's just very simple and just gives you exactly what you need. It's fast, so it gives a
It's a
action compression
spell.
advantage to a deck that really needs it.
It's a spell, so you
But
can find it. Don't forget that,
yep,
and upgrade
spell
it
you can
with
find
Arcane
it.
Research for free,
Are great.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no downside to getting Moonlight Ritual 2. Like none
It's an
whatsoever. You should
insight, so
get
you
Moonlight
can
Ritual
copy
2.
it with your Divermus Mysterious to
Yep.
clear the doom off your Divermus Mysterious. It's not fast because that, I mean, Divermus Mysterious takes an action, but still,
Yep.
if you need it.
It does it just has one fatal flaw, and that's it's not very interesting. And that's fine. I like it as a companion with Ellie. Like that makes me like Ellie more because I'm like, okay, so one just straightforward, the
I
other
would,
one I got to think about,
I would
you know?
not. Yeah, okay, yeah, I agree. But I would not take these two in the same deck. I don't think that's worth it at all.
Yeah, maybe not, but you see where I'm going with this? Like, it's good to have cards that are simplistically designed and straightforward, and it's good to have ones that are like weird and interesting.
Sure.
And maybe they work out, maybe they don't. And
I
so
guess.
I actually don't dislike Moonlight Ritual, but let's just be real, and like that's just like a straightforward, very simplistic, all around great improvement. End of
Yeah.
story, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It
Yes.
even gets a wild icon.
It
Like, what
even
more
gets
do
a
you
wild
want?
icon. You can, yeah, if you don't have Doom and you don't want to have Doom for some reason, you can
Yeah,
commit it for 2 intellect or 2 agility. Yeah,
or one of whatever you want.
or one of whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you have this, I hope you have Blood Pact. So if you're not committing it for books or foots, then just use your Blood Pact instead, and then clear it instantly.
Yeah, yeah, I suppose that's fair. Oh, that is a good comparison. Yeah, it even synergizes really well with Blood Pact
It's
because
yeah,
you can Blood Pact to get the stat you need, the other two stats, and then use this. So yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, I think we've
Okay.
talked. I think we've talked these to death. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm more interested in El Rubash now that I realize like her assets would disappear as well. That's kind of
Yeah, just
interesting.
because Moonlight Ritual isn't gonna make any new deck archetypes, she's just like Moonlight Ritual is just there to make sure the archetype can function a little better. So
I
it's I'm glad it exists, but also like I'm on the fence. I'm like, what does Ellie Rubash do? Does she really change things? And if so, how much? And what
yeah
kind of deck wants her as opposed to David Renfield? But yeah.
yeah. Okay. Next up, we got our Survivor cards, which is Baseball Bat 2, Katya East Bank. We've already talked about a little bit, and one of my favorite dilemmas, Heed the Dream. So let's start with Baseball Bat 2, which is
Okay.
an item, weapon melee, cost 2, has fight, you get +2 for this attack, and it deals +1 damage. If a skull or non-fail symbol is revealed during this attack, either return Baseball Bat to your hand after the attack, or this attack does an additional 1 damage and discard Baseball Bat after this attack. Takes up 2 hand slots, I guess that's also worth mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
And commits for 2 fist.
Yeah, I really like Baseball Bat too. This is an instance where the symbol token effect is not a requirement, but it does interesting things when it does happen.
Yeah.
Because, in talking about Song of the Dead, we've been discussing that card quite a bit because now it's in the pool or it's in your deck, and just being like, I have to get the skull, and that's obviously not how you've been treating it, which I think is why it's like been mildly acceptable, but the card it really should be giving you something,
Yeah.
right? And if it, and it's just not. Whereas this one is you get the skull or the auto fail, and then you get it to make a choice, and you can, like before, lose the card, but it gives you an extra damage boost out of it. So maybe that's in the best interest at the time, or you can pull it back to your hand and then you can replay it as a way of putting the bat back together or something like that, jury rigging it.
Yeah.
So I feel like that raises like a good, like even if it just did one of the two effects, I think I'd be happy with it. But the fact that it is both is even better, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a cool card. I like it a lot.
It's yeah. I actually would go so far as to say this is kind of this is like someone, you know how we always talk about Seekers like getting cradled and stuff. This is Survivors getting cradled. The cradle is passing to Survivors now, and this is I think a card that's very evident of that. Ignore the dilemmas for now, but
Yeah.
but
Sure. Yeah.
like especially comparing this to Song of the Dead. When you brought that up, I was like, this is also a 2-cost level 2 asset. Huh.
Yep.
This is just better in every way, isn't it, than Song of the Dead?
It does take up two hands, though. There is that, and that is a problem because Survivor doesn't have a lot of access to extra hand slots very much, and so that means they can't have a flashlight or an old key ring. So it does push them more into a fighter role specifically,
Yeah.
or at least for the time while they're using the bat. And because it's going to be leaving play either to go back into your hand or get discarded, then that frees you up to play an old keyring or something like that.
Yeah,
So
I guess that's what I'd say.
Yeah.
Is like it looks like that. Like, and this has been my thing that I've said about Baseball Bat 2 forever. It's like it says it takes up 2 hand slots, but does it really? It only takes up 2 hand slots until you draw a skull,
Right.
And then it doesn't,
Right.
And at that point, you can do other things, and hopefully, you've dealt with the thing you've dealt with, or that needed dealing with. And if you haven't, well, shit, sorry, you're a survivor.
Yeah.
That's the game.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, I don't know. I think this is just like this is such a solid card. It's never. It actually never is going to break, right? Because like you don't ever have to break it. You can just return it to your hand, and
Right.
sometimes it costs 2 resources to replay it. But like comparing this to like even like I don't know, like Old Hunting Rifle, another Survivor card that if you draw a skull, something bad happens. That has limited uses.
Yeah.
Like you only can use that
Yeah.
3 times, and this. You can use this as many times as you want, as long as you're willing to pay 2 resources. So, the only time it kind of gets like, I don't know, a little bit crappy is when you start drawing the skull like 2 or 3 times or once a turn. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, but that's
Because then it starts sapping into your resources and your actions to replay it. So yeah, at that point it is annoying, but yeah,
I think
that's not going to come up that often unless you are like the dedicated fighter and you're just getting really bad luck and you've built your deck to do nothing but baseball bat. Other than that, I think you should be like, because survivors I think are better as flex characters. I think that's kind of their strong niche to fill, and so just flexing with the bat for a little bit and then swapping to clues or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or playing this with someone who has off-class access to Survivor as well, who maybe doesn't use their hand slots that often. Someone like Agnes Baker, who can just use this to keep killing things forever, which is what I want to do with
I mean, she's fighting at a combat value of 4, so I wouldn't really use it for that. But
oh, I've thought it worse.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I mean, there are worse. You could take it with Wendy.
Yeah, you could. I don't know. Yeah, there's something there. I think I've thought about this deck before. Baseball bat. I've played a baseball bat Agnes deck before because you're not using it like it's for smaller enemies like that at that point.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah,
use it for the
you
weak stuff.
use the shrivelings and the
And conserve your
horror
charges.
things.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I would mostly want to take this as in Will York, because then I can lean more on the discard extra damage and then just replay it from my discard pile after they die.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm going to have to replay it anyways.
Wait,
so.
that's dumb. That's really stupid. That's a stupidly good card for Will York. Why did I not see that? I just don't play him very often. Wow.
Yeah.
That's just like getting a vicious blow. Well, it's not on tap because it's a Song of the Dead problem, right?
You've got to get it's not you're dependent on the bag being what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's always Will York's problem, and I actually love that about him, is that he's always broke. It doesn't matter how much economy you prep for, you're always broke, because whenever you kill something, you get to replace something from your discard pile, and you're gonna take that option. So
yeah, it's actors always broke.
Actors. All right, what about Katya? I feel like she's fun.
Yeah, what does she do again? Let me read this for myself. When you draw a non-weakness card from the top of your deck, before resolving any of its effects, exhaust Katya, place that card face down beneath her, limit 5 cards, and draw a new card to replace it, and as an action, you can draw any card beneath her. Yeah! That seems... I don't know. That seems okay.
So, yeah, the action to draw the card beneath her sucks, and no one wants to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, the idea is to pair her with the dilemmas, because then you just put them under her, and then when you want the dilemma to trigger for an action, you can just pop them up, and then it's like you played that card for free.
So,
That's the idea.
I agree with that on paper, but I think the thing that's most interesting to me about the dilemmas is that don't cost an action or a resource. Like, that's what I like about them.
Agreed. That's what I like about them too. But it's got to cost something.
Yeah, I mean, it costs inconsistency, but that's fun. Inconsistency's fun. This, I guess, like, maybe my...
No, I mean, to use Katya, it has to cost something.
Oh, yeah.
To pull it up. And I don't know what else they could tie that to.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I guess my thing with her is she... Kind of like your same sort of thing with the Moonlight Ritual level 2, is I kind of think this is kind of a boring card. I'm just not... It's like, it seems like it's good, but I'm just, like, not... Kind of think it's boring. It has to be non-weakness. That makes sense, but...
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I'm going to take it in my future Patrice Dilemma deck, because she would also be helpful for... Because sometimes as Patrice, I don't have time to play all the cards in my hand, because I have other things I need to do in my turn, and it sucks when that happens. So having her stockpile a card for me that I can play on a future turn sounds really nice. But I mean, I do have to spend an action to pull it up and then play it, so maybe it's not going to work out as well as I'm thinking.
So, yeah, weirdly the thing I thought about is, like, if you're searching for a specific card, that's kind of where I'm like, okay, you didn't draw it, but maybe it's your next card. Like, that sort of idea of, like, maybe towards the later part of the game, you're just like, I just need something that has agility symbol on it so I can evade this guy, and you draw something with a willpower and a book symbol on it or something like that. You can exhaust her and try, and you know you have an agility symbol somewhere in there, and try and draw that agility symbol. That's kind of like what my mind went to. And then, like, it's not like it's getting rid of the card, it's not forced learning, right? You're not choosing one to discard.
Right.
But maybe I like that more.
So she has a limit of 5 cards beneath her.
Yeah.
What you could do also is maybe there are certain cards in your deck that are there only if certain situations come up. And so for the most part, they're like these emergency buttons. Like for example, I mean, let's just take an easy one, emergency cash. But you find you actually don't need it because for whatever reason you got your other economy stuff going, or the deck just the way you piloted it that game means you don't need this extra resources. So you put that beneath her, you get a replacement of something that you may actually need, and then you just never draw emergency cash off of here because you don't need it, and then it stays out of your deck. And especially if you're like Patrice or someone who goes through the deck very quickly, like maybe Min, then you can keep going through that deck and you just ignore the card that you don't need, and if you do need it, you take the action to grab it. So I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not. You said a lot of words there.
I don't love her either. I'm just kind of enjoying theorizing how I might use her, which I've never done before because I kept looking at her going, I don't want to spend 3 resources to do nothing, is what it feels like. But now I'm kind of thinking of it and going, yeah, there's like other things. I mean, maybe I want to put skills down there, and that's my build. I just throw skills under her so then I can pull them up and play them right away, and it doesn't feel like I'm losing an action too much.
And I guess she does soak for 4 as well. Like, she's not soaking
it's
for
not bad.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess you discard the cards that are beneath her when you do that, but maybe that's not too bad. Maybe that's okay. Yeah, alright. Let's talk about Heat the Dream, because this is a fun dilemma.
Okay.
So this is the one where when you reveal it, you reveal the top card of each investigator's deck and place them in a pile, then you repeat that process 2 more times, so you end up with 3 piles, and you remove 1 pile, or 2 piles from the game? Yeah, remove each 2 piles from the game, and you get to draw 1 free. So, it's like Eureka, but for everyone, it has consequences.
Okay. I think I will like this card in practice, but I hate the text on it. I just can't stand the text. It's like what? How do I do this? It just confuses the crap out of me.
Yeah.
So when you're making a parallel with Eureka, that helps a little more. Everybody has to play Eureka, and the two cards that you don't pick actually get lost.
Yeah.
That's effectively what's happening, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's basically what's
Okay.
happening. It's like, yeah, there's a weird
Okay.
conjoined Eureka, which is, I think, like, this is actually pretty good. And I don't think,
Yeah,
like,
probably.
there was a lot of people when this card was, like, being talked about, or initially spoiled, or whatever the process was. I don't remember. That were saying, like, ah, man, this sucks. You're gonna get your lightning gun in one pile, and your, I don't know, what's a good Seeker card? Deduction?
Anything.
Anything in
A
another
card that's
pile.
yellow.
A yellow card in another pile, and you're gonna have to choose between your Guardian getting the card that they need to play the game, and your Seeker just getting another card.
Yeah.
The Seeker getting you their lab coat, and no one wants to get rid of their lab coats.
And is that what happens when you
No,
play this?
what ends up
Okay.
happening is, like, everyone, because, like, it just ends up becoming like this thing that's like, oh, that's the better pile. I know, like, I have a good
Okay.
card in this pile, but I recognize for the team. Like, no one's so petty playing this game cooperatively where they're just like, but I want that card. They're just like, okay, yeah, we really need
Yeah.
need the lightning gun, don't we? Yeah, the lab coat was kind of a fun include anyways. Just go ahead and take it out.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you lose weaknesses this way?
I believe it says non-weakness.
So each weakness in each other's. Okay, third. But
Yeah.
you don't draw the weakness.
No, you don't draw the weakness, and you don't get rid of the weakness. I think that's right. Yeah. So
Okay.
they would still get put into a pile.
Right.
It's actually shuffle each weakness in each other pile. So they're still in a pile, and if your lightning gun is next to someone's paranoia, they're like, hey, maybe we... Yeah, then they're like, okay, maybe we just draw my paranoia. It's fine. I have to draw it at some point.
Oh, so if we choose the pile that has the lightning gun, and that also has someone's paranoia, they have to take paranoia.
Yeah,
they can't
do.
just shuffle that into the deck. Okay.
But they're gonna draw it anyway. It's still their weakness. Just give the Guardian their lightning gun. Come on, everybody. It's not that hard.
Yeah, it's all right. Maybe it's fun. We'll try it at some point.
Yeah, we will.
To me, it feels like it's weighed down with a lot of text, and then it's also like it's one of those cards that stops the game and makes everybody do a mini game for a moment and then move forward. And I just feel that it's not. It just does. It feels like the most unnecessary card I think I've ever seen. It just pops up and like did something, and I'm like, why did we need to do this? Like.
Yeah.
Like as opposed to that one where it's like you get the dilemma and it's like the Indiana Jones one where you get to either like get an extra action or draw 3 cards or something like that.
Yeah.
And that makes more sense to me. Yeah, because I'm like, okay, I could actually make a decision just for me to figure out like what I'm doing. Like I appreciate that this is going for a multiplayer effect, but it's just like 4 cards.
Oh,
And
no,
I'm like,
no.
All right.
So with that one, I don't remember what it's called either. You can choose anyone to draw 3 cards or lose an action. It doesn't have to just be you. So it's all the dilemmas are multi-card.
Right, so that's still
multiplayer effects.
cooperative.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
still cooperative. Yeah, and they don't have peril.
But it doesn't make everybody have to participate in your card. That's my issue with it. But I'm also someone who doesn't like Bless and Curse because it makes everybody participate with your deck in such a like intimate way when you may not be interested in doing that. So it's like fun if everybody's into that, but not if you're just trying to do your own thing because now you can't. The deck, like the bag, is fundamentally now trying to accommodate for different people at the table. I don't know. I feel like this, I would be like, if it was just like pull everybody resources and then like average them out or something like that.
That'd be fun.
Then it's like,
that's
sure.
a fun dilemma.
That's like
I like
simple,
that. Yeah.
straightforward. Like that's just kind of like or if it made it so that everybody gets 1 resource and then one other person gets everything, something random like, or something interesting like that. I don't know if like, I don't know which way I'd prefer. I'm just spitballing, but that would be like simpler than the cards because the cards is like, okay, the equation it becomes so different every time you play it. So maybe some people like that because it's always a unique thing.
I think like that's what it feels like, but that's actually just like the hell of this card. And this card, more than the other dilemmas, actually doesn't approach its hell as frequently as you think it does. Like the one where you move an enemy towards you or you move away from an enemy, that one is frequently, oh crap, I just drew an encounter card from my own deck. This one, I don't know. This one is usually just like, okay, that's the right pile to take. Let's just take that pile. Like, it doesn't actually slow the game down as much as I think the fear of the fear of it shows.
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, I guess I've only played this in 2-player as well, so it might get more complicated with 3 or 4 players and 3 or 4 cards to evaluate in each pile, I suppose. But
yeah, bigger groups might be more of a issue, but I don't know. It's this is like the kind of card you have to discuss with your table before you put it in your deck.
Yeah. I will say, like, that's dilemmas, right? Like, in a nutshell,
That's fair.
They are like the Blessing Curse is like another archetype like that. Dilemmas are also just like. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be playing some dilemmas in our next campaign, just so you know.
Are you Survivor?
I don't know what I am yet, but I'm going to play dilemmas.
All right. So I guess I won't be doing Patrice with my Survivor.
Oh no, we could just do a double dilemma. It'll be the. We'll talk off screen. Let's go to the rogue cards because we've actually been chatting for a while.
Yeah.
So our rogue cards, we have Stylish Coat and Breaking and Entering 2. Stylish Coat is another piece of clothing that has the reaction effect when you gain 1 or more resources during your turn via another player card effect. Exhaust Stylish Coat and gain an additional resource. Hits soaks for 1 and 1, cost 2, just like the lab coat.
Stylish Coat is great.
I think this is better. Yeah.
Just play it with your Lone Wolf, and then you get Emergency Cachet every turn. And if you're Jenny, then you get 4 resources every turn.
No, just 2 resources. It's just an additional resource. Oh, I guess you get 1 in upkeep, though. I see.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You get 1 from upkeep, 1 from Lone Wolf, 1 from this, and if you're Jenny, you get another 1 on top of that. So you get 3 to 4. I mean, but I mean, 3 resources a turn. That's great.
Yeah.
And even if you don't do that, I feel like there's plenty of cards that are going to be worthwhile. Like whatever economy cards you're playing, you know, whether that's the Faustian Bargain or Hot Streak, you just get more on top of it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want that?
And it's interesting that it doesn't say rogue player card. It just says another player card effect. It has to be during your turn. So, like, you can't do it if someone else, like, stand together as you or something like that. Unless they somehow play that fast during your turn because they're parallel Roland. Is it an insight? I think it's a spirit, so no. Is it a tactic? I don't know. Yeah, so...
I think it's spirit.
Oh, wait, can you take this? No. Oh, yeah. Carson. If you have a Carson on your turn. No, it doesn't work. No, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop trying to think of ways to play stand together with Stylish Coat.
I don't think it needs to be overcomplicated though. Like just take a quick look at your economy in your deck and make sure that there are cards that, because most cards give you resources in a very straightforward way.
Yes.
They don't have weird rules text that will prevent it from not triggering with Stylish Coat. That's why it works so well.
Yeah, and like I guess the reason I wanted to bring this up is to just kind of loop back in on our discussion of Lab Coat, which specifies it does have to be a Seeker card.
Right.
And it would be like, I think it would still be powerful enough if Stylish Coat said, you know, it has to be a rogue card, but it's just, I think this is the reason
it's nice that it doesn't limit itself.
Yeah, this is the reason I think we wanted to put these two together in the same pack, is just like,
yeah, that makes sense now.
Yeah. This is just a straight up better card, and it's an example of Seeker getting a little bit more toned down, which I like.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
Yeah. I don't have much to say.
I don't really have anything.
It's good.
Yeah, breaking and entering, there's nothing to say. It's the same card, it just bounces back into your hand, which, whatever.
Yeah.
Those cards, those rogue events where they bounce back into your hand if you succeed by a certain amount, I just have no interest in, really. I guess I'd replay it again, but it should have solved the problem already, so, like, why do I want it back?
There's this kind of events in moving in on asset space thing that's been happening with a couple level 2 events in Rogue and in actually in Mystic as well with in the later pack Hemlock Veil with Read the Signs and Spectral Razor, that I'm like,
yes,
I feel good when I'm playing it, but I don't know if I'm actually 100% behind it. Like, it feels it feels good. It straight up feels good. I think it feels better in the Mystic cards, like where you can't necessarily guarantee you're going to draw a symbol token, though you kind of can. than in the Rogue class, where you can kind of pretty much guarantee you're going to succeed by 2 or more, or 3 or more, 3 or more.
3 or more. Yeah, it's a high bar.
It's a high bar, but I think you can in Rogue. They're kind of built to.
And you're adding your agility and stuff like
Yeah.
that, so you're getting like +5 or +6 to the test. So.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I'm okay with this direction. I just am. It feels weird to be like, because I like events, but it does feel weird that it's like playing this card. It's like, oh, this is better. This is just my lockpicks now, instead of actually playing lockpicks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's my issue with it too. Is just I don't know. It just feels like an unnecessary thing. Like I get that it's better, but I'm just
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't need it.
I have feelings about this, but I haven't sorted them out yet. I think I was just playing with the upgraded Spectral Razor and like not doing anything to support it, but just randomly just drawing a skull or a tablet whenever I played it, and just being like, "Sweet, I guess I get this back." And then being
so if you get the symbol, that's why it goes back?
Yeah, so you can't play it again that turn. I think it's the same on this one, right? Yeah. It comes back to your hand at the end of the turn. I just kind of leave it on the table and then pick it up at the end of my turn. But it is like... Yeah, it's a little bit weird. I don't know. It's not as consistent. It's more expensive, but I also feel like rogues kind of have resources solved, especially with Stylish Coat sitting right there. And Mystics are getting there. Mystics are getting to a place where they really can just have good economy. So, yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this upgrade. I like it. I like playing with it.
I like that it's different. I'll give it that because it's
Yeah.
not a cost reduction. It doesn't change how fast it is to play.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the skill value or the results in any way. All it does is do something we haven't seen too much of, and it bounces back into your hand.
Yeah.
So I think that's fine, but just not something I'm particularly interested to leverage too much.
I think it's just not... I think it's that consistency in upgrade form, right? Like, which I like playing a scrappier deck that's kind of inconsistent and goes all over the place. And this says, no, it's okay. You can just, calm down. You can just keep breaking and entering forever if you have the money to do so. I don't know if I like that.
It almost discourages you from playing other cards because you just need to get another resource so you can play this again.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it avoids attacks of opportunity. I don't know. Yeah, there's I think and like they keep doing it with already like strong cards too, right? Like the events that get more consistent are already the ones that were pretty consistent and strong. Maybe I'd like it more if I was like, the upgrade to
like sneak attack.
Well, sneak attack. What does sneak attack have? Does it have a bounce back? No, I don't think it does.
No, it doesn't bounce back, but it's 2 XP, I believe, and then it allows you to... It's the same effect, but you just don't have to be engaged with the enemy. Whereas before, they have to be exhausted, so you would have to evade them first. But because Sneak Attack is just no longer engagement, you can use it on an enemy that's engaged with somebody else and back them up. So if they got a 2 health enemy on them, that's a good way to just come up to your friend and, get the bad guy for them, and then they're on their way.
Yeah.
So I like that because it is doing something within the theme of the card already and just making that theme like stronger or more pronounced.
Yeah.
It makes it more flexible to do that.
Yeah.
And so I guess I would prefer something like that, but I don't know what that would look like for these cards.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I guess like the idea here is, or the theming here, the thematics of breaking and entering, and if you do it well enough, you don't get caught and you can do it again. Like that's supposed to be the thematics. And I guess the thematics of Spectral Razor or Read the Signs upgrades, which we haven't talked about yet. I'm just I'm crotchety today, apparently. I'm realizing that about myself. But the thematics of that is like, if you, channel the right Eldritch Energy, you can do it again, right? Like you can keep being more and more powerful at the cost of your resources. But I think that's...
See, even that I don't really like.
Yeah.
I think I would rather it do more damage or do like or healing or something. I don't know.
I would rather see it on weaker cards that need the consistency more. Because Spectral Razor 0, Breaking and Entering 0, these are already great cards. They didn't need to be more consistent. Put it on like a freaking, what's that, Followed, right? Like the one where you're just like, or Eavesdrop, the one where you like have to find an enemy at your location and beat their
Yeah.
evasion value. And then if you beat their evasion value by 3, that's when you get the consistency of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to do something like that, because Eavesdrop is not a particularly good card, or even Followed for that matter. I mean, Followed has its places, but
I love
it
Followed.
does require you to make the situation kind of happen.
That's a great
Did you
card.
say it was bad?
I love Followed.
Oh, it's a great
That's
card.
one of my favorite
Yeah,
cards.
I like it too. I really like that card. I like the theme of it. I like how, I mean, it is restrictive, but I used it as like a main clue getting card with Safina.
Yeah.
Because I put it under her, and then I would play it repeatedly.
Yeah.
And I would just keep enemies around and then exhaust them, and they had damage on them, and I was slowly chipping away and then picking up clues. So it was a really cool rhythm to make that going. But yeah, that's a card that could use a bit of a bump, you know, make it a little more palatable.
Yeah. All right.
Any other cards on this pack?
I don't think so. I think that's it. Yeah, there's... Oh, wait, no, there's one more. Soul Sanctification. Wow. I forgot this card existed both on this slideshow and in reality. This is a permanent exceptional 3-cost,
Yes.
technically, or 3 experience, technically 6 experience. For every point of damage and or...
When you heal someone over their threshold, you get a charge here or an offering, and then you can spend those to get +2 on the skill test.
Yeah, and limit twice per test. So it's not like Unexpected Courage. It's like... oh no. I don't know. Like the opposite of Desperate. There we go.
Yeah. I don't know how to feel about this card yet, other than that it seems pretty good.
Yeah. I like healing. I like this as a payoff for having healing cards, because the worst part about healing cards is when you draw them and you play them and you don't have anything to heal, and you're just like, well, what do I do with this now? The game hasn't dealt me damage. The game hasn't dealt me horror, and I can't use these cards. And this just lets you be like, it's okay. They're actually the opposite of Desperate skills.
Yes. Yeah, basically. Yeah, it seems good. You just have to have a deck that's doing lots of healing, otherwise it won't be enough. Because it is 6 XP.
Yeah.
But it is in play permanently, which is good. So as long as you're doing a dedicated healing-focused deck, then this is something you probably want to add into it at some point.
And, like, it does make, like, the healer viable. Like, having a healer...
Yeah. They become very supportive.
Yeah, you can do anything now. You're like that... Preston Fairmont,
because you can get +4 to a random test.
Everything. Yeah, exactly. It's just like
it's a lot.
You're good, and like if you run out of charges on it, it's okay. You can get more. Does anything replenish offerings? Is that a thing we can replenish?
How?
Just in cards. Are there any cards that replenish offerings? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Technically, this doesn't have use as offerings, so you couldn't replenish with it either, so... Alright. Well, whatever. Seems like a good card. I'm excited to eventually play with this. I haven't yet, though. Yeah. Alright, that's our video for the day, because we've stopped talking and we ran out of things to say. We'll be back, I think we skipped next week for card reviews, and then we're back the week after for card reviews. Is that right?
I have no clue, but it's whenever we hit the
I feel like I just like mapped this out, and there's a week we do skip, and I don't remember when it is. Maybe it was last week. Anyway, we'll be back eventually with more card reviews to finish this pack off. No, we have 2 more before we're finished with these. And until then.
Stay out of danger.
Kind of lost it at the end there. Sorry.